Hey, good evening, Augusta Nation. Thanks for joining me this evening. And we've got my favorite way to communicate here, the whiteboard. Got some numbers going on. And I was going to talk a little bit about how important pricing is, and then specifically how what we do as far as whenever we're estimating, we do everything in budgeted hours. So whenever you're starting out your business, or if you've come to a point and profitability is an issue, I believe that pricing is the uh, number one factor that's going to dictate the profitability of your business, and it's super important to get correct, uh, from day one if at all possible. And myself, starting out, whenever I had Fine Lines Landscaping, or I had bought that small company, I just adopted the previous owner's method of, hey, this is a $50 yard, $40 yard, without an actual pricing formula. So we use budgeted hours. I believe it's the most accurate way to estimate the labor portion of any job, whether it's and we do, just to let y'all know, we do mowing services for mainly residential and smaller properties. We do run, or we will be running solo routes and smaller landscapes. So budgeted hours is one way to estimate. Another way is to, if you're doing, you can do square footage for mows, or, for landscapes, you could do a multiple of, like, okay, a pallet of sod laid and prepped is X amount of dollars. How we do things is budgeted hours. So I just want to let y'all know that. And I've got a couple examples here, three examples of pricing. The $50 an hour per labor hour, 65 and 80, and that's per team member. So, if you have two people, you double it. If you have, we're going to do solo routes. So that's the example here. And the example of this company is 8 team members and averaging 35 completed budgeted hours a week. So that's just an example. I'm going to show you the different levels of profit with the 3 different pricings. So, and I probably should have done 30 budgeted hours as an average, because I did the math on our company. We had 9 team members in, as far as for maintenance and projects this year during the busy season, and then now we have 4. So 9 months of the year we needed 9, 3 months we need 4. If you average that out, you would get 30 budgeted hours. So a little bit inflated, but it's a pretty good, accurate example of what's possible with 8 team members. And so we're going to start out at $50 an hour, that pricing. And what I did is I took the 35 budget hours per week, multiplied it by the 8 team members, and then multiplied it by 50 weeks out of the year instead of the 52. It goes accounting for rain and things like that. And then I multiplied that by $50 an hour to get the annual revenue. So in this example, at the $50 an hour price, $700,000 a year in revenue. And we also use pay for performance, which is paying your team a set percentage of revenue they earn each day. So with that, the labor percentage of 36% on average throughout the year, get the labor cost of $252,000, and then all other costs at $413,000. So this example assumed a 5% profit margin. So you're left with $35,000. Okay, so 5%, as far as at that level of business, $700,000 a year. That is, I don't know what statistics are. I know Mike Andes had talked about, the average entrepreneur at $49,000 a year. Not quite sure what the average is. As far as our industry, I honestly believe the average is somewhere around 7 to 10%. But again, this is just an example. It's a decently realistic one. But let's look at number 2. This business had the hourly rate of $65 an hour, so $15 more an hour. And we're going to have the labor percentage is 36%. So that does go up as far as total cost, same percentage, but you're paying $327,000 for labor. but nothing else has changed. You still have the 8 team members. You still completed 35 budget hours a week. So you still have the same costs outside of labor as you did at 700,000. The only difference is your revenue is 910,000. So an extra $210,000 in revenue, and it equals out to almost $170,000 in profit. So your profit went from 5% to 18.6. You more than tripled your profit just by having your pricing different. And then what Bellingham, Washington does, that's Mike Andy's original location, and that is where our pricing is moving to as well. We were at 75. Actually, whenever we first started, we were at 62.50. We went up to 75, and now we're going to be at 80. So in that example, same amount of work getting done, same amount of team members. You're going to do a little over $1 million a year in revenue, and you're going to have profit of $304,000. So you multiplied your profit by about 9 to 10 times, going from $50 an hour to 80. And as far as your profit percentage, you more than 5x'd it. So super important pricing in this business. And if you're saying, well, there's no way I'm going to get $80 an hour in my market, that's fine. In order to get this type of premium, you have to do what it takes in order to increase your perceived value. And Mike Andes talks about it a lot. With Augusta, we have excellent communication. People when they call, every single time the phone is answered, you can pay your bills online. Whenever you request our service, the estimate is usually sent the same exact day, and then you get a follow-up from the office. You get professional emails, and then when the team arrives, beautiful Augusta Gold trucks with that handsome Golden Retriever Max on it, and our team dresses in collared shirts and khakis, and they're very professional guys, and they execute well. So in order to get that, you do need to increase your perceived value, but it is super worth it because doing the same amount of work for $35,000 profit versus $300,000 is definitely worth whatever you have to do to get that. And so that's the section on why pricing is so important. And now I want to talk about budgeted hours and what you can do if you estimate using budgeted hours, and how great of a tool it can be as far as being accurate. And I think it furthers your ability to achieve those profit percentages. So by doing budgeted hours, you get to see exactly what kind of resources you need as far as your team members and then projected growth for trucks and equipment. So this is our Jeremy went and did the work. And we use Service Autopilot, so it'll populate monthly budgeted hours. That's how we put it in the system. And every job, let's say Mrs. Jones has a mow, it'll say the team knows the budgeted hours, so they know how much time they have to spend there. And on the software, it will say 1 budgeted hour. So that's all there. He went and found the average per week budgeted hours for the most busy months of the year. So we got May through October. You can see where it starts to taper off. After September, we dropped 50 budgeted hours. The average for all, 6 months? All 6 months turns out to be 35 budgeted hours per team member. And now that's super important to us because we want to know how many team members we need, but we also want to ensure a really good paycheck for those team members. So at 35 budgeted hours, that average is about $920 per week. And that's where most of some team members will perform lower, some higher, but that's the average. So for this year, those 35, if we're shooting for 35 budgeted hours per team member, we would have needed about 9.5. We had 9, and so our guys had an average, a higher weekly average. And we did have several team members make over $1,000 a week, $1,000 in a week. So super important because you will know the resources that you need, and we'll take this information. And for instance, next year we're going all solo routes for mowing. We are one of the territories we service. We're separating, making it a separate location. Matthew Owens will be heading that. He'll be the general manager. He'll be running all operations there, doing the production. And so that's the one team member we'll have in North Augusta. We will have, and then in Augusta, we will have 4 mowing team members. That's 4 trucks. Project team will have 2 team members. That'll be a truck. And then we are separating our shrub trimming. We'll have a shrub trimming truck. So we'll have 2 team members on that. And we ran the math, and we know to have an average of 35 budget hours, we need this many team members. So we now know, okay, well, we got to buy another truck, X amount of mowers, and all of that. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions about budgeted hours, about pay for performance, or anything at all, feel free to put it in the comments and let me know as far as pricing. If you feel like sharing that in the comments too. What area of the country you're in, what's your per team member hourly rate that you charge is, if you've got different rates for mowing versus landscapes and things of that nature. So I appreciate your time. I hope this was helpful, and I will talk with you tomorrow. Hope y'all have a great evening.